All right, let's dive into the final, powerful conclusions from Daniel Kahneman's groundbreaking book, Thinking Fast and Slow. We're about to meet the key mental characters that are secretly running the show inside your head.
So let me just start by asking you a question. When you make a big decision, about your health, your money, even just what you choose to remember from a vacation, who or what is actually in charge? Who's calling the shots?
You see, the conclusion of the book really breaks it down into three key matchups. It's like a drama playing out in our minds with these fascinating characters, the two selves, the two species, and of course, the two systems that are at the heart of everything.
First up, let's look at the most personal conflict there is. This is a battle that's raging inside you all the time, whether you realize it or not. It's the constant struggle between your two selves.
Okay, so think of it like this. You have an experiencing self that lives life moment to moment. It's the one that actually feels the pain of a dentist drill or the joy of a perfect sunset. But then you have the remembering self, and that self is like a storyteller or maybe a movie director. It doesn't keep the whole recording, it just keeps the highlights, the dramatic peaks, and the ending. And here's the kicker. It's the one that makes all your future choices.
This was shown in a brilliant, kind of cruel experiment where people had to stick their hands in painfully cold water. Get this, they actually chose to repeat a longer session of pain just because it had a slightly less painful ending. Think about that for a second. Their remembering self literally chose to inflict more total pain on their experiencing self just to have a better story to tell about it. It's a completely irrational choice, driven purely by the quirks of our memory.
And this is the bottom line, straight from Kahneman himself. So what does that really mean? It means the part of you that makes all your decisions is working with seriously flawed data. It completely ignores how long good or bad things last and just focuses on the most intense moment and how things ended. It's a distorted picture of reality.
Okay, so that's the battle inside our own heads. But what happens when we zoom out and see how this plays out across all of society? Well, to do that, we need to meet two very different species of decision-makers.
You see, for the longest time, economic theory was built around this idea of a creature called an econ. Econs are perfectly logical, they always act in their own best interest, and they definitely read all the fine print. But decades of research have shown we're not econs. We are humans. And that means we're messy, we're influenced by our emotions, by the way choices are framed, and let's be honest, who really reads all the fine print?
Now, this belief in our inner econ led to a really strong libertarian point of view. The logic goes something like this. Don't interfere with people's choices. Rational folks should be free to choose and be responsible for the outcome. In that world, freedom doesn't have a downside. It's just free.
But then the behavioral economists came along and said, hang on a second. Since we are messy humans, not perfect econs, that freedom actually does have a cost. It's a cost that's paid by all the people who make bad choices, and by the society that often has to step in and help them out. Our irrationality means freedom isn't free at all.
So what's the solution? This whole puzzle leads to a really fascinating idea called Libertarian Paternalism. I know, it sounds like a total contradiction, right? But the concept, which was made famous in the book, Nudge, is all about designing choices in a way that helps us humans make better decisions, without ever taking away our freedom to choose differently.
And you see these nudges everywhere once you start looking. Automatically enrolling you in a company retirement plan is a perfect example. It uses our natural laziness for our own good. You can always opt out. Or remember the old confusing food pyramid? Replacing it with a simple plate made healthy eating so much easier to visualize. These aren't commands. They're just smart adjustments to the choice architecture that help our biased brains make better choices by default.
Okay, so we have these two conflicting selves, and we now know we're not these perfectly rational creatures. It's time to pull back the final curtain and meet the two core systems in your brain that are responsible for all of it. This, right here, is the main event.
Here they are, the two stars of your mental show. System 1 is the hero. It's fast, it's automatic, it's intuitive, and it's working tirelessly all the time, generating feelings and first impressions. And then there's System 2. It's the supporting actor, the slow, deliberate, effortful part of your mind. It's the one we think of as us, the voice of reason. But here's the most important thing to know about System 2. It is incredibly lazy, and it gets tired very, very easily.
Now, it's really tempting to think of System 1 as the villain here, but it's not. It's an absolute marvel. It's how you can drive a car while having a conversation, or instantly know your friend is upset just by looking at them. System 1 is the source of almost everything we do right. The problem is,
It's built for speed, not accuracy. And because of that, it's also the source of our most predictable mistakes and biases. So, if this is how our brains are wired, with this fast but flawed hero running the show and a lazy sidekick who's supposed to be in charge, what are we supposed to do about it? How can we actually make better judgments and decisions in our own lives?
Well, Kahneman's answer is pretty sobering. He basically says you can't really train your intuition to stop making mistakes. System 1 doesn't really learn that way. The single most effective thing you can do is get better at recognizing when you're walking into what he calls a cognitive minefield, a situation where your gut feeling is very likely to lead you astray.
And the process for navigating that minefield is simple in theory, but pretty hard in practice. First, you have to learn to recognize the signs that you're in trouble. Second, you have to consciously slow yourself down and resist that first easy answer that pops into your head. And third, you have to force yourself to wake up your lazy system too and ask it for help.
And maybe the biggest takeaway of all is that thinking better is often a team sport. Why? Because it's way, way easier to spot someone else's biases than it is to see your own. If you can develop a shared language for these biases, like anchoring or framing, you can turn office gossip into genuinely useful, constructive feedback. And even better, organizations can build systems like checklists and formal procedures that protect everyone from their individual System 1 errors.
So understanding these systems, these selves, these two species, it's like someone just handed you the user manual for your own brain. You can now see the conflicts, you know the biases, and you understand the potential for error. The only question left is, what are you going to do with it? The next time you face a big decision, who are you going to let direct the show?